Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation. Watch Kalamazoo Lively Arts every Tuesday at 6 p.m.
Next, Kirk Newman's longtime friend Christopher Markin sits down with the Kalamazoo-based artist on the last day in his studio to relive his artwork over the years.
Growing up in my home, I was so fortunate to be surrounded by so many visions of beauty from different artists from around the world in different times, different eras, different styles. But if there was one constant, it was Kirk Newman. And he fused a lot of those periods and a lot of those artists together.
Yeah, now that Kirk's retired, it's just not the same without him. It's a lot less. You know, it's you know, the magic's gone to a certain extent. You know, there's not going to be anyone else like him. You know, he's really has one foot, you know, in the modern era and one foot in that real tradition, the real traditional, you know, sculptor. So yeah, we'll miss him a lot.
Well, hi, my name's Christopher Markin. I'm here in Kalamazoo, Michigan with one of my dearest friends, oldest friends of my family, artist Kirk Newman. Kirk, take a bow.
Yeah, that's me.
That's you.
Yeah.
Well, I can't believe that I actually have the opportunity to sit next to you and discuss.
You're a lucky guy.
I am a lucky guy. The life of your work and how it's evolved and where it came from. Could you tell us?
Well, to start with, you read it exactly right.
Huh.
And I know that a lot of people don't get it or care about a lot of the stuff I've made, but I always thought what I was doing was probably just right.
I'd agree with you.
Like that drawing. Yeah. Yeah, see, that looks just right to me. Now, a lot of folks wouldn't think that looks so good, but that sums up a lot of, I think, what my work's always been about, and that is the total frustration and confusion that so many of us hold inside but have to deal with all the time. So I made a drawing showing that he's dealing with an awful lot there. He's even late to work, but he does have his tie on, even though it's just a space. So it's the kind of the contradiction of everything that ends up in a lot of my drawings.
You know, I've always noticed a theme, several themes in your work as it's progressed, but one that's always jumped out at me were the use of holes.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because as we pan around and you see...
At one point, I realized that the holes in things is pretty natural, because that's the way the world is. Sometimes they're very minute and you can't even see them, but still they're full of holes. All of reality is a matter of holes and not holes. Not K-N-O-T, but, you know, not. And that's what this is. That's why those are that way. And the hands up thing is one of the oldest gestures that man can make. That and the defensive arm gesture that we all learned from total history of man.
And then we come to this one that also has the holes.
Well, that guy's in a tough spot. Yeah, he'd been hit pretty hard.
It looks like he's got some bullets coming at him.
And today, you know, the holes in things is just part of the life out there. There's wars here, wars there, wars everywhere, and everybody's full of holes because they've been shot a lot. Fortunately, it isn't total.
Whether by bullets or lies, we all been shot at.
Yeah.
Kirk has an amazing sense of humor. It takes an educated eye and consciousness to pick up on it. But once you do, you got it. And you see it everywhere. Kirk got that. The fact that he captured that, the essence of what it is to be human, whether it be through the darkness of his earlier pieces, evolving into the shadow figures, to the whimsy, to the playful, it all makes me smile. I don't think I could have asked for any bigger gift in life than that. And that's the company of Kirk. This guy, for example.
Yeah, that's a pretty summary piece, and it's a fairly young one. Early in the development of the work, but this hat is so realistic.
It really is. It's a familiar looking hat.
But I always have liked the idea of the negative space. This piece has a lot of negative space, the back and the front. You can see it's basically a very thin piece, and yet it doesn't need to be filled out to work as a moving figure, and I just like it a lot.
Looking back at the life of your work, I'm always drawn back to some of your earlier stuff from the 1960s, early 1960s, all the way through the 70s, which were more full-bodied, figurative work.
Well, I made some very realistic sculpture.
You did indeed, and your drawings, there's a lot of the element of desperation, like the fallen man, not knowing what to do when all he can do is either give up or get up.
I know that out there in the world, there's a lot of desperation. You see all these cars lined up every morning, every night. That's a lot of desperation.
Sure is.
I want to get the hell home, you know.
It is.
I want to get to work.
I go see him every once in a while. I love being in his company, and George's as well, in this stage in life just as all the others. But what brings me the most pleasure is to know that he doesn't know how to retire. But like he said, maybe it's time to stop doing the commercial stuff, but I don't think he'll ever stop drawing, creating, and recording what he sees. It's really something special, and my biggest hope is that people will also get it. Everyone never will, but as long as a few people get it, and they will, there'll be a twinkle in their eye, and they'll know that's what he was after. And there's a lot of it in all of us, whether it be the seriousness, the desperation, the tension that we feel, the hotness of a deadline, or just the whimsy of liking to dance like no one's watching. Kirk captures that. And to be able to be part of that and to grow up through that has been nothing short of an honor, and it makes me feel complete. One that's always been dear to my heart, and everyone that lives in Southwest Michigan, would have to be the party in front of the KIA.
I like it. I think it's one of the best things I've made. And those are all life-size figures. And I was happy with the piece, and I think there are 12, a row of 12 figures. Mm-hmm. The very day it was dedicated, they had a big crowd there. I'd say a third to half of the people there thought this is the ugliest thing they'd ever seen, and they wanted it torn down. They say, we can't have that here in front of our art center.
Were those the members of the board?
Yeah, and other people that they didn't get it at all.
Did any of them look at it and go, that figure looks familiar?
There was one in there of a guy I knew really well, and the expression is, he's giving you the bird. You've heard that term?
I have.
Well, he's in there. The bird's on his arm.
That was a great, that to this day is one of my favorite pieces. It greets you.
I think because I'd built that is how I got the job going in Hong Kong, because a Chicago person that was working for Hilton saw the work here and said, there's nothing like that in Hong Kong. Why don't we do it? So that's how I got involved in that. And then, because other people had seen that work, I got other jobs that I didn't take, some of them. But I did take the one in Toronto. Mm-hmm. It has 21 figures. And it's quite realistic.
That was a really tough one on you, as I recall. That really took a lot out of you.
I was tired of doing stuff, and I was getting a little older. I think I was about 75. No, I wasn't quite that old, but
middle age.
I was getting a little older.
I was just so happy when it was done.
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah.
I remember, because the first thing I remember you doing, you were drawing again.
Yeah, well, that's where it is. That's where the fun is. It's
my greatest pleasure and personal accomplishment knowing Kirk when he looked at me and he said, you know, you get it. And I hope he knows how important that one single statement was to me and is to me to this day and forever will be, because to get it is really something special, and to be part of his life, to be in his orbit, so to speak, was always such a privilege and such an honor. I look forward to his next step. I don't know what other people think, but I know for a fact that he's going to go home and sit next to his wife, Georgia, and he's probably going to be drawing.
Watch Kalamazoo Lively Arts every Tuesday at 6 p.m.